Welcome to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Join the Podcast Mogul Phil Better as he interviews successful entrepreneurs that make their living in the digital world. Now, let's join your host, Phil Better, and his special guest today on Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Welcome back to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. I am, of course, your host with the most, Phil Better, and today I'm excited to share an interview with an amazing guest. They are a digital marketing expert, a thought leader, and the co-founder of Go-Getter Marketing Group, a digital marketing agency based in Atlanta, Georgia. Our guest loves educating small business owners and entrepreneurs about how to expand their business by creating strong, actionable strategies and creating 20 pieces of content a day, people. I don't know how she does it. I barely have time to create 2 content a day, and I'm a podcaster with a lot of free time. So we're going to get into that. But they also love teaching social media and marketing teams how to organize, plan, to create content, to build profitable ad campaigns, and analyze web traffic. Additionally, she speaks to groups about leadership and personal development. She has 2 children. She does hot yoga in her spare time because apparently she doesn't have enough on her plate. But ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sonja Crystal. Sonja, thank you so much for being here.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, Sonja, I gave a brief overview of who you are, but my audience always loves hearing it from our guests first. So could you just introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you.
Yes. Hello, everyone in the entrepreneur world on your journey. My name is Sonja Crystal Williams. I am the co-founder at Go-Getter Marketing Group. We are 15 years strong in the business. I've been doing digital marketing since Facebook was a baby. It's been a fun and wild journey. And I'll start, Phil, by just sharing, I guess, a little bit about how I got into this business. For me, I was working, typical corporate 9 to 5, and really enjoyed what I did. I left college and did some roles in marketing for the government, and that was great. And I enjoyed marketing, definitely liked that I had a passion there. It just wasn't, from a career path standpoint, going to take me where I wanted to go with some of the ideas I had and things I wanted to do and learn in marketing. So I shifted. I pivoted into pharmaceutical sales. Did that for a bit. And during the, I'd say, Great Recession that we experienced a little over a decade ago, I was ready to pivot again. And the company I was working for called for people to volunteer to exit and offered severance packages. And at the time, I was in my late 20s, no kids, and thought, if this is the time to launch a business, I think I'm going to do it right now when I have 6 months of severance being handed to me. I think I can stretch that for a year and see what happens. So I took a gamble on myself. And not to mention the fact that I was very hyped up during that time period from listening to people like Tony Robbins and Jim Rohn and Zig Ziglar. And I was like, I can do this. I was so hyped. And I still am. But I definitely had some hard knocks along the way in trying to figure things out. And that was the start of the path for me. I started out thinking I would just do marketing consulting for friends and family. And they started out as my first few clients, friends who had websites. And I would look at it and say, hey, we really need to redo this. It looks horrible. And eventually, as I got out and got more into networking, because that's really how I grew my business, face-to-face relationships. As I started networking more and more, people started asking, well, you're talking about social media and you're sharing with me some strategies and tips, but can you do it? Can you just do it for me? I don't have time. And that is what really sparked the growth in Go-Getter Marketing Group and led me to the place where we are today. We have a team of 6. And we do a lot of managing day-to-day stuff for clients when it comes to their social media, email campaigns, and paid ads. And I've rolled into really helping a lot of teams who want to do it on their own and a lot of entrepreneurs who want to do it on their own, teaching them how to do it. So it's been a fun journey.
I love that. I love how you're like, I can do this. And like, you have that ability. Your business, your former job is like, here, go do something. We don't want you anymore. And you're like, I'm gonna do it. And then because you're hyped up, because Zig Ziglar, I'm sorry, Zig Ziglar just gives great, his speeches, his sound bites, all of them they hype you up. And Tony Robbins, obviously the king of hyping someone up. But I love how you said that you did get knocked, but that didn't dissuade you, and you're still joyous and still excited to do it. But those knocks are super important. And I want to understand, like, what were some of the first knocks that you got that hit you and kind of maybe made you start questioning? Because I think not a lot of entrepreneurs talk about that.
That's a great point. So my first year was rough. I mean, gosh, I can probably tell you I probably made a few $1,000s. It was definitely four figures that first year. And I remember my parents continuing to send me job announcements and constantly asking me, when are you going to get a real job? Because they didn't understand what I was doing. So what were some of the knocks along the way? One, and this is one, that even in recent years, I've continued to really work through. One is figuring out what you're worth and how to properly price your services. There's no manual, there's no handbook when you're an entrepreneur telling you what to do. I mean, we are blessed nowadays because we have TikTok, which didn't exist then. Instagram Reels, YouTube isn't what it was 15 years ago when I started the business. So there are a lot more entrepreneurs sharing these types of things. But for me at the time when I started and not knowing a lot of entrepreneurs myself, I was really figuring out things on my own. I didn't think to do other simple things, like I didn't apply for business loans, and that has pros and cons. We became truly a cash bootstrapped business, but I didn't think about applying for a line of credit to, let's say, utilize that for helping with hiring processes or launching ads or investing in other services and memberships that would help grow my business faster and get me in front of the right audience faster. So those are some things I learned along the way. But what I will tell you that I feel like I did well, and I would share this with any entrepreneur, is what I shared a few moments back, which is I built my business initially through networking. And it was something that I was very fearful about doing in the beginning. I didn't really know how to network. I did not know how to work a room. So I started just coming up with strategies that would work better for me and my personality. One was showing up to events early, be the first person there, because if you're the first person there, everyone's going to come talk to you. You don't have to go find them, right? A lot easier that way. And then I could leave early and excuse myself. And then for the business cards I did collect at events, I got into the habit of calling people and inviting them out to coffee or tea, not lunch, because lunch gets expensive, as does dinner. So as an entrepreneur, when you're pinching those pennies in the beginning, you got to find ways to leverage and create relationships. So I did that really well. And then I utilized LinkedIn to bridge other relationships with people who weren't necessarily accessible in Atlanta, where I live, and to meet people in other places, and not just to connect with them, to actually say, hey, let's meet up and have a phone conversation. And eventually for me, that actually did bridge into Zoom conversations, because I've been using Zoom for years before this whole, pandemic situation. So I was bridging into those face-to-face video conversations a while back and looking for ways to connect with people. So it's like figuring out, okay, when you get knocked down, re-examining what do I do well and what can I do to pick myself up and how do I get over this hump? And some of those speakers that I was listening to, like I use the word hype, but I also want to say, like, there was a lot of practical things from a mindset standpoint that I learned, and a lot of shifts I had to make in my mindset about my beliefs, my values, my habits, even learning for myself. Like once I had my son, that I had to shift my schedule around. There was no longer staying up late or catching up with work on weekends. It now became mommy is the one the kid wants all the time, at least that first year or so in my world. And mommy is going to have to get up at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. sometimes and knock out some work early, so I have time in the middle of the day to focus on other priorities and family things. So even coming up with those shifts and again, pivots along the way is really critical when you first launch a business. And then even once you've launched it, that doesn't end. You still have to find ways to reposition yourself.
You all already answered my follow-up question that I wanted to talk to you about the networking. When I asked you for the knocks, and the networking is something that's so important. And if someone who doesn't know networking, because I don't think we're taught in school, because I feel that we're around this in the same age range. Like I'm an elder millennial, you're probably an elder millennial as well, and or just a youthful Gen Xer, but we're in the same age range. We didn't get taught how to network.
No.
So I want to understand, how did you learn to do this networking while you're trying to promote your own business and not be like, oh my God, I need to go back to a 9 to 5 because mom and dad are just like, not that they don't believe in you.
Right.
They want to protect
They
their
want to
child.
Yes, exactly. They went into protection mode, and we want the best for you. And they eventually stopped doing that, and they're very proud today.
If they're
But
still sending you now, I'm gonna be like, mom and dad, I got a business. I'm good, you
I'm
know?
good. I'm good. No, that changed when I started sending them little checks. So they're quiet now. But the networking piece, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Not taught in school, and it's one of the things actually that I tell a lot of college students when I visit college campuses: the value of still taking classes on a campus and meeting with peers face to face, because networking, if you're in college, if you didn't go to college and you're on the job and you're in another trade, it starts with the people that you're surrounded by. And then eventually, and so one, that's one leg of it, is keeping in touch with the people that you meet just in life along the way, because you have no idea what they might be doing in 5 or 10 years that might really, really benefit you. So that, I'd say that's one big piece. And then the second piece is how you network and getting to know complete strangers. And so for me, that was also part of my approach. And so the way I would look at how I went about that process was, one, I was online just generically looking at websites and watching videos on YouTube. And for me at the time I first started networking, there was actually a CD audio that I had. And it was a sales audio. And I remember the guy, Tim Sales, maybe you can Google him. I don't know if he still exists, but Tim Sales had this audio on how to sell better. And this is audio that came from another moment in life where I was doing network marketing. Anyway, great value lesson learned in that experience about how to network. And Tim Sales on his CDs would teach you simple techniques that would make you a better salesperson. And I use that in networking. A really simple technique I would use is learning how to ask people questions and be quiet. Learning that the person who asked the questions in a conversation is really in control of the conversation and the flow of how it goes. And I would go into networking and learn to stop making it about me and wanting to say what I need to say and give my spiel and throw my business cards in someone's face. Nobody likes that. So for me, it shifted into asking them a lot of questions about themselves, and then allowing the space, if they desired to know anything about me or what I was doing, then that opened up the space. And to me, that created a more authentic connection with people. It didn't feel like, again, when you hear that term networking, if you're the kind of person where it kind of makes you cringe and ball up, like the idea of being at an event around a lot of people, that really shifted it for me. Because it felt more like, no, I'm just going here to talk to people and have some conversations. And now that I've done that, I feel better, and I'm not forcing myself to try to meet everyone in the room. I might only connect with 10 people at an event. But again, my process after connecting with those 10 people, whether we talked about them, me, or whoever, it was, I would love to continue this conversation. Are you open for coffee or tea? Can I email you or call you or follow up? And then I also would make sure everyone I connected with, I put their email into my email list. So I was also growing my email list at the same time. Um, Always ask for permission to do that. And then always connect it with them on LinkedIn. Nowadays, it might be Instagram or some other medium, but also making sure that I had touch points to remain visible in front of that person outside of that coffee chat that we were going to have at some point down the line. And here's the thing too. I always invited everyone I met in the beginning. The reason why is because whether they were qualified to be a client of mine or not, I needed to know who they know. And that actually led to me, when I did start becoming profitable, some of my clients that I still have today came from people that I met in those early years of networking that I've now known for over a decade, who simply said, I can't think of anyone else. You were the first person who came to mind when I heard about this opportunity. So do you want to talk to this person? Just real relationship building.
I first of all, you touched on so many points that I want to hit on. As a podcast host, I know the power of silence. I like to call it the power of silence. It's like when you ask that question and they just give you the yes or no, just wait like 3-4 seconds, and that is enough to make most people super uncomfortable. So now I'm going to be able to take that into my networking world, because I never thought of how it translates over. So thank you for that tip, just for me. And obviously my audience is going to love that networking tip, but also the power of referrals, where you build that relationship, you keep a touch point. They may not be a client of yours, but they may be able to refer a client. And as business owners know, referral is sometimes the lifeblood of a business. So you always want to keep your friends close, because they'll bring even more people to you. And of course, the email list, how important is an email list? Because it's own media, which we're showing now more and more how important having your own media is.
Yes.
But for having your own media, you need to create content.
Yeah.
So how do you go about, I don't want you to break down your exact path to make 20 pieces of content,
Right.
But how would you start the process? Let's do that. Like, how would you start thinking about creating that 20 pieces of content?
So I think the starting point is, for an entrepreneur, figuring out what type of content are you most comfortable creating. And when I say type, I mean, are you someone who doesn't like writing? If you don't like writing, maybe you're just okay with talking. If you're okay with talking, then your content may be in an audio format. It may be in a video format. And then if you are like, I'm not much of a talker, but I can get my thoughts out on paper, then maybe it is that written format. So first, it's identifying what type of content you're most comfortable with, because I'm a big believer in video, huge. And I really, really do kind of push my clients in that direction. But not everyone is comfortable with it. And what happens for an entrepreneur when they're not is it puts them in that position where they just don't create, because they're stuck in, I have to do this, but I don't want to do this. And that's number one. So first, you need to figure out, what am I least resistant to? What do I enjoy doing from a content creation standpoint? And then from there, it's thinking about, what are the topics? Okay. Now, nowadays, right, we have these beautiful tools that are coming into play, like Chat GPT, that can help you generate ideas, or even just going into other blogs. Like, I'll throw out some tools. I use HubSpot as a great resource. Digital Marketer is a great resource. Those are resources I go to keep up with trends in topics and headline development in general. What is it? The founder of ClickFunnels, their
Russell
website.
Brunson.
Yeah, Russell. Great. Those are like the best resources you could find as an entrepreneur when you're kind of in DIY mode, to get yourself started on that path. So number one, we need to figure out, what kind of content am I comfortable with creating? Let's just say, I'm going to use my husband as an example. My husband's in real estate. He is a client technically. And my husband is not a poster on social media. He does not like posting content, but he's very comfortable with talking. And so when we first started up with his social media strategy, we did go to video naturally, because there was no other way for me to get him to create content. And through using video as an example, the creation of video, even if you did a long form video and record it yourself, and we won't get into all the how
ins
you
and
record
outs.
all that. Yeah, we won't get into all that. That's important, yes. So I do want to point that out. But given you record a great quality video, okay, and let's just say that's a longer video, that's 10 minutes. There's a lot you can do to repurpose that video. That 10-minute video could be transcribed. Okay, so there are websites out there that will transcribe your content. You could take that And then once it's transcribed, reformat it into more of a blog style. Now you have blog posts. You might have a couple of blog posts. Just depends on how long your video recording is. Then you take that and you break quotes out, and maybe some of those quotes make for nice kind of graphic quotes that go on an Instagram or a Facebook. Then you actually cut the video up and you find the parts and the moments in the video, whether that's 10 to 20 seconds, maybe that's a full 60 seconds, and you find where you can redistribute that content. Now, there are a lot of tools you need to use that may help you along the way, and that's part of what we do and how I help train clients on how to do that consistently, and not just how to do it one time, how to actually develop a system where you can plan for that, whether you're doing it alone or if you've got, someone kind of partnered with you. How do I take you and your team and help you develop more of a calendar that allows you to do that consistently, and then batch create the content? So when you're shooting this 10-minute video, we're not doing that one day here and one day there. We want to make the best use of our time. So we might block. I have a client, they call it media mayhem, and they block one day or at least half a day where they will push out about 14 to 15 videos in that time frame, just because they block the time to do it. So they go through the recording process, and then editing, again, will vary depending on what level of editing. Are you using a professional editor? So you've at least created the content and then they complete the production side, or are you using tools to do it yourself? So that part will vary, but that's pretty much the process that gets you on the path to doing it. And then the key is to stay consistent, because if you are going to publish your content across these social media networks, they love consistency. And so they really, really, if you're trying to get more views, if you're trying to get more engagement, if you're trying to increase your follower count, you need to stay consistent. And I will couple that, because I am a huge believer in online and offline communication. So I still couple that with nothing replaces the stuff you do face to face, the people you meet out in public that you help draw back to your content.
I don't even know where to start touching on all the gold that you just dropped. There was, I'm going to touch on the batching, because as a podcaster, that's what I do. I batch on 2 days a week. I record sometimes 10 episodes a week with just back-to-back interviews or just solo episodes. So yes, batching, I cannot stress how important batching is, because it just allows you to get everything out in one go. And oh God, it's so much helpful. I would like to hit a memory that you've had, because you've given us so much great tips. I would love a memory from your journey, since you've been doing it for such a long time. And you probably have a wealth of wins for your clients, but also moments that you were able to achieve, like your goals to achieve, or like a dream hit. So I would love to touch on either one, either a goal that just a goal that you were able to hit that just like cements the original reason why you jumped into this, or a win for that you got a client or a client had because they worked with you. Either one or both, it's your goal. I just would love to hear that, to share that with my audience.
Yeah. So when you say memory, actually for me, that triggers like memories of again, kind of the earlier days in the business, but what that meant for me. So our business is, me and my husband started the company. So we're family business, we're homegrown, and I say we're small but mighty to the clients that we serve. And us having that vision that we've had and starting this business, for me, the win has also been, I'm a very family-oriented person. And if you can't tell, I'm big on relationships, and being able to bring in family into our business, who's wanted to work alongside us. And kind of earlier on in our business, my sister-in-law was a part of the team. And when we were very broke and had an opportunity for a big project in New York that came about, and we had about a day notice to get up to New York, and flights were crazy. We left Atlanta on we'll say something like megabus adventure all the way up to New York. One of our best memories together ever, that helped seal the bond for me and her as sisters. And the experience we had on that ride was amazing. There were bugs on the bus. We wrapped up under a blanket in our hoodies, snuggled next to each other, and did not let our feet touch the floor for about 14 hours. Great experience. Again, one of those things that makes you so appreciative when you do hit a milestone where you don't have to do that, but you also can look back and say, I did what I had to do in that moment and went up to New York and got that contract. And it led to many other wonderful things for my career and hers now that she does independently. That's beautiful. That's a big win for me.
First of all, that's an amazing, like, not only win but memory to have, because if ever you're doubting yourself, look, I did 14 hours on a bus with bugs. This is nothing. I could get over anything. But
that's
also
right.
You also helped inspire your sister-in-law to become her own boss, to fight for her own thing and start her own journey in this world. And because of that memory, because of that bond you created and showing her that it's possible to be successful. Man, you inspire people all over the place.
Well, she's a firecracker. So people already have it in them. So, I mean, it's just taking it further. And I am glad we had that experience. It helped us both.
We are coming near the end of the episode, so we're going to jump into the spark question by Seek Discomfort. As you know, my audience knows, and as I explained to you, Seek Discomfort wants to spark conversations between strangers, because strangers are just friends you haven't met yet. So name something you'd like to celebrate with me today. Have you had a win recently that you haven't had a chance to celebrate that you would like to do it right now?
Oh, wow. Okay. I've been having a lot of fun lately. So, okay, I shared with you that my big win has been I have been teaching Inferno Hot Pilates. It's
I do yoga regularly, like hot yoga I had to do once or twice. But what is Inferno Hot Pilates?
Yes, I love it. So it is Pilates, but it is a HIIT workout. So if you haven't heard of HIIT, high intensity interval training, meaning that you're doing a workout in rounds, but it's Pilates movements. And a lot of people are like, what's Pilates? Because they don't, what's the difference between Pilates? What's the difference between yoga? Just think of it as something that helps you with movement, mobility. Yoga in some places works more on flexibility. Pilates can help with that. But this is definitely an intense workout, and it's hot. It's in a heated environment. It's going to make you sweat. But it's been the funnest time for me. And it's 100% pure fun. I just do this in the morning. It's something that kind of forces me to get out of bed and kind of stay committed to my own physical fitness and health. And then along the way, like I get to bring it. But let me tell you, it makes me appreciate what people in the fitness and wellness industry and trainers do so much, because I truly feel like I am putting on a performance for people when I spend that 1 hour, and it's just a couple of times a week, but it requires prep. It requires you to be like in the right mental space. And then, it feels really good in the end when people are reaching their goals. And I've been doing it now for about 3 months, and I love it. It's so fun.
Oh, I love that. And I'm glad. Thank you for sharing that with us. Because like I know how good yoga is. So like hot yoga, I'm not a big fan of. I'll do it once in a blue moon, but Inferno Hot, just like when I read that, when you said that over, I was like, what are they lighting? Is there an actual fire in the place? Like, is that how they're doing it? Like they're literally, you are in hell, infernoed. So I'm glad you clarified that. It's a high intensity hot workout. That's where the Inferno comes from. Everybody sweating, building up the heat higher. So yeah.
An amazing playlist, amazing music.
Thankfully, because I don't think without amazing music, you can't have a good workout. Exactly. Sonja, I'm going to jump off stage here. I want you to let my audience know where they can work with you, how they can connect with you so that they can network with you and possibly work with you or bring clients to you because they've listened to you here on the podcast. So the floor is yours.
All right. Hi, everyone. Okay. So if you'd like to connect beyond this podcast, I mentioned to you that building multiple pieces of content in a day. How do we do that? I do that in a VIP session. So during that VIP session, it's an opportunity for me to work with you one-on-one. I like to think of it as a hybrid between what I'm good at, helping train people so that you are enabled to continue building that content on your own, along with the actual nuts and bolts and how-tos of making it happen and really helping you build out that first round of content. So that is one opportunity that you have, along with I just help a lot of different corporations, government entities, small businesses help build and grow their digital marketing presence, their paid advertising campaigns. So those are really the two biggest pieces. You can find more information about that. I have two websites actually. So GoGetterGroup.com is under my company, Go Getter Marketing Group. And that's where you'll see upcoming trainings, workshops, and you'll be able to access information regarding that VIP session. I think for listeners of this podcast, here's what I'll do, Phil. I will put an offer in. And so let's just say if you send me an email off of the website, just mention the promo code Phil Better as a podcast listener, and I would be happy to give you a 20% discount on that VIP session for being one of Phil's listener and listening to this podcast today. So take a look at that. My second website is Sonja with a J, Crystal with a C.com. So SonjaCrystal.com. And that's where even more training offerings are there, as well as group coaching opportunities and one-on-one consulting. So I am happy to work with you, budding and sprouting entrepreneurs in any way, shape, or form. You can also find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, pretty much anywhere under Sonja Crystal, Sonja with a J, Crystal with a C. Thank you so much for watching.
Sonja, thank you, first of all, for being here on the show and that amazing discount to my audience. So as my audience, just to repeat, go to her website, mention Phil Better in an email that you heard her on the show, and you'll get that 20% discount. That is mind-blowing. So thank you so much for that. And thank you again for coming on the show.
All right. Thanks, Phil. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. To my audience, make sure you check out the show notes. You'll have all the directions to get that. Again, get that discount, connect with Sonja, find her LinkedIn, network with her so that you guys can learn how to become the next digital entrepreneur like herself and myself. And always remember to invest in yourself.